I don't want to take like the kind of long speeches list, like telling all about the amazing speakers. I would honestly leave it to them as well to just to announce their existence in the event. Gemma, why wouldn't you start first? Let
Thank
us
you.
know
Yes.
who is Gemma. What do you do?
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I have degrees in applied math, statistics, and operations. That's my academic background. But I was a teacher for 10 years. I taught high school, and then I also taught small little kindergarten students English for a while. In 2016, I made the pivot into tech, and I've been part of both small and large consulting firms. I was also part of a startup for a while. And during that, since the pivot in 2016, I discovered my passion for community building as well as education within the tech community. And I've been involved in organizing numerous events, in addition to giving talks and presentations to audiences from technical all the way down to the more general like management type of talks. So I joined IBM Quantum in September of last year, so I haven't been with them for all that long. And I'm part of the community advocate team, which is a great opportunity to work in that community building space that I have a passion for, but I'm also involved just a little bit in the research. So I get to flex my technical skills and learn that aspect as well. So my journey in quantum is relatively like fresh. But I have been around in the community and kind of watching from the sidelines for a while now, and finally got my chance to kind of join the team, which has been really, really exciting.
Well, we're very honored to have you today, Gemma. Conrad, tell us, why do you love quantum? What brought you here today?
Well, so firstly, I'm Conrad. Great to see everyone in the Zoom call. What brought me here was the historical community building that OneQuantum has done, and the community building that I've been involved with. I did a bachelor's in electrical engineering at the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. I did a master's there in high performance computing. And during that process, I got involved with the university and IBM and a quantum computing collaboration there. At the same time, I met some lovely people at OneQuantum, got involved with that. And now I find myself doing a master's in quantum engineering in Europe and Switzerland at ETH Zurich. Throughout this entire process, I've learned a lot about the field. I've also learned a lot about the passion that young people have for learning something that's cutting edge, especially in Africa. The interest that some people I've met have in something that could have an impact in the future, and trying to be part of that amplifies my passion for it. And that's why I try to continue to be part of community building events and organizations such as OneQuantum, such as the KizKit community. I've worked with Gemma before as well with the challenge that we had last year. It's impactful not only for the continent, but also for me, so that I can contribute back. And that's, I guess, why I'm here, to try and help other people to fall in love with this field so that they can also contribute to the future growth of quantum computing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We're very excited for the discussion that is coming up. Next, we have Mayenza, our quantum politician.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. So far, I've been hearing some amazing, inspiring things. It's a pleasure to be here. A little bit about me. I was born in Zambia, moved to the States when I was about 14 years old. And graduated high school when I was 16, and I told my mother I wanted to make video games. And then she looked at me and she said, "That's not an education." So I was just like, okay, maybe I'll just pursue computer science. And then when I'm 18, I'll go, there was a school that I wanted to go to and learn video games. But so I pursued computer science and electrical engineering. And then after my freshman year, I kind of dropped those and switched to software engineering. My junior year, I dropped out. I had a passion for music. So I moved to New York to kind of pursue music. While there, I got involved with some nonprofits. I ended up getting a job at the United Nations Executive Office for Political Affairs. And then my boss pulled me over. He had a side project for the Security Council. We're trying to digitize how they delivered sanctions, because it was kind of a mess at the time, because some people would just submit a name on a piece of paper and then like, okay, we need to sanction this, but it's just like, how? So we kind of, had to go through a digital transformation for that. And it launched in 2016. And then since then, I've been kind of helping to manage that and enterprise it, make it a bigger application to where we can give it to all the countries that are the members and also the European Union and things like that. So we've been in development of that, and it should launch later this year. What kind of, brought me to quantum was just the basic idea of it. I just saw no limitations. And like a few people mentioned, Malak mentioned, I went on YouTube and went on a Qiskit tutorial, so I kind of learned that. And then I also did some D-Wave things, just basic, tinkering around and things like that. And then I found OneQuantum, and then I was just like, okay, this is kind of family. Everybody's kind of, has similar vision, and I was kind of hooked since then. So that's it's been a little bit of that, but I see a lot of bright futures coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meza. That was very interesting to know. Actually, I've known you since like almost a year now, but I've never thought that you were a musician as well. So we got politician, quantum, we got digital, we got music. Wow, you really packed. Kudos, man, kudos.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so last but not least, we got our special guest, Malak. Please introduce yourself once again.
Hello. I've already talked briefly about myself. So I'm Malak. I'm from Libya. I'm currently 18 years old. I just finished high school. I first got into quantum computing at age 16 when there was an introduction to quantum computing for high schoolers. And I thought that was crazy because I knew quantum to be something just for PhD, masters only, and just very high level. And it intrigued me, the thought that I could go into it, even though I had like very limited mathematical and science background. Of course, I applied. I got accepted with two of my friends. And ever since, I've been learning more and more about it with every resource I could find, just try to just push my way through into the community. And so far, I've noticed it's such a welcoming community where people are just happy to see you learning. I thought people would sort of shut me out since not even in university yet, people would sort of shoo me away. But it was quite the opposite. People are very welcoming. People are very happy to have anyone in the community. And just as long as you're enthusiastic about it, as long as you try to learn, there's something there for you. So all you need is just the want. You don't need to be a mathematical genius or anything about it, which I definitely am not. I just enjoy it. And people are just there to help you along the way. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be there to help others to enter the community as well, because people were there for me and I would like to be there for others as well.
That was amazing. Well, now we got to know each one of the speakers. I would love to start the conversation where Malak has lived. Like, when we speak about the educational, like what kind of educational materials, the tools and aids for some quantum enthusiasts across Africa. I would like to ask that especially for Gemma and maybe Conrad. You could actually elaborate on that, like what educational tools and aids maybe are already available for this field across the continent for each or any quantum enthusiast. Gemma, take us the way.
Yeah, so Malik's actually already mentioned them. You know, IBM Quantum has a lot of materials available, ready to use right now. So just having a look at the Qiskit textbook, it's filled with labs and tutorials. But if you're going through and have a look at the beta version, you can actually run lines of code within the textbook itself. So it's not just reading and then trying to set up Python and Jupyter notebooks on your machine so that you can try it out yourself. You just need to open up your browser, open up the textbook, and you can start playing right away, which is fantastic. You know, and YouTube, not just the IBM videos, but there are so many videos explaining the concepts in different ways. So maybe you don't understand a concept from another way, have a look around, find a new video that explains it in a different method, which is like, yeah, there's just so much. It is, I saw someone in the comments kind of said, but where do you start? It is incredibly overwhelming. So kind of having a look. IBM has, over the past few years, had summer schools and have posted all the materials online. So you can follow that curriculum from day one, kind of starting with what is a qubit, what is quantum, all the way up to, you know, the end of the 2-week course, and have a really good working knowledge that you can then start to build on. You've got a better idea of where you are in this overwhelming universe of quantum.
Absolutely. I think that's a good point where you just mentioned the overwhelming materials that are already available online today. Okay. I was just speaking to Conrad, you know, speaking of that point, only yesterday, like when I started my graduation project, my bachelor degree, I really had that dream of doing quantum, but back in 2019, no online courses, no free resources, or almost no free resources. The only resources that I had to, you know, what I actually found online are a lot of like quantum information science papers. I'm coming from a major, electrical and electronics engineering. So I didn't know that much about what is a bra, what is a kit, what is like, what kind of mathematical symbols are those, like, but for today, you know, some say that the pandemic has done us in a wrong way, but I say the pandemic has pushed the quantum community globally, like boosted, if I could just rephrase that, like really.
It's what got me into quantum. The course that I was going to join was supposed to be in America, but because of COVID, it was online. It was open to everyone. But another thing that I would also say is avoid information overload. So pick a specific, let's say, company you want to follow their courses and follow it instead of going, you know, everything. I want everything at once, because there's so much information out there now that if you want, for example, to follow just the Qiskit notebooks, follow them in order. And then if there's something you don't understand from there, then look somewhere else. But if you look at everything at once, I think it will be more confusing than beneficial.
Absolutely. And I want to ask Conrad actually for that, since you've done the technical side of maybe like theoretical, maybe technical side of the technology. Like how can you elaborate the universities, like the African universities, like when we talk about like quantum information science curricula in the universities, the materials that can actually be taught, like how can we start, how can we dig deep when we speak about quantum education across the continent, considering that we need some sort of a distributed kind of program across the continent. How do you think we can tackle that?
Yes, so one of the things that I think Africa is behind in only because our quantum community is small is that we're very fragmented. The beauty, well, the plus side of the pandemic is things have moved online. And so now we can collaborate and talk and discuss and learn from each other. But that wasn't always the case, and it still is somewhat difficult. My advice for university students and even high school students is to talk to professors, even if they're not at your local university, but just contact researchers in the field. The number of people that get excited when someone emails them saying, I don't have access to your paper, it's behind a paywall, can you give me the PDF so I can read it? So the number of people that will say, yes, of course, definitely, is close to 100%. And that's exactly the same with course content. If there's something that's not offered at your university and the textbook maybe is too high of a level for your current courses that you've gone through, so your background isn't that detailed, and there's a course that's offered somewhere else, contact the professor. Most likely they'll say, sure, here's the version from 2 years ago. I can't give you the latest one, but here's the notes. The community is passionate enough and open enough that you just need to ask. For developing educational tools on the continent at a university level, it definitely has to be distributed, because there isn't enough of the community isn't large enough and concentrated enough for it to happen at a single institution. There are certain labs, and that's at a PhD level, but we need to start from high school level. We need to start from people that are learning about kinematics and chemistry and start telling them about quantum phenomena at that point. And so from an education perspective, we need to incorporate government. We need to try and get quantum computing, quantum physics, and quantum mechanics integrated into our curriculum so that by the time students get to university, they have that knowledge, so that if we do have programs in these fields, they have the expertise at that level to enter into quantum as a whole. And that just requires us to build enough mass as a community, enough of a base of people interested, so that we can influence change in the education system. And it starts small, teaching your friends about the field, to asking your physics teacher to explain concepts to you in the next lesson. Anything helps to try and grow that, and then influence governments and educational institutions to start developing content to teach Africans about this.
I absolutely agree with that. And I still remember the first few meetings of OneQuantum Africa. And at that point in time, I had a screenshot of the first event that we had, the one that Farais invited us. Sadly, he's in the class right now at the moment, so he couldn't join us, Farai. But I swear to God, like I did a screenshot, and I also like had the full list of the attendees. At the point, I was like, okay, this is a very important, like very decisive moment for me, because like I didn't know Africans. Like all I knew, like from the quantum Twitter community, those people, those professionals from big universities, big companies. Okay, so yeah, so I still remember that. I was like September 2020, looking at the community today that has been developed by like the African chapters and all. It's amazing that I know who's in Zambia, I know who's in like Kenya, I know who's in South Africa.
Yeah. One actually thing I wanted Adan actually comment about is how you said we should start at the high school level, and I 100% agree with that. Being a high schooler who learned about quantum from that age, it definitely felt that I was in on something I'm not supposed to know. Like I'm in a secret community that no one knows about. It definitely made it feel cool to learn about, quantum, the feeling of this is secret information. And I actually first learned about quantum in middle school before high school, when my science teacher showed us a video about quantum, what it is. And he was just really passionate about it. He didn't study it or anything, same thing. And I got interested in it from that point on. And then in high school, if there were just more resources, because most people think of high schoolers as, oh, they wouldn't care, or oh, they wouldn't know. No, a lot of them do care, and a lot of them would love to know more. And I think definitely just showing it a little bit, just a video, just a short video in high school would pique a lot of people's interest. And it's definitely would make a big change and a big difference.
I think it's very interesting and exciting to see high schoolers being involved, because you always have this energy. For example, like the first time I saw you at QWorld, you have this energy and enthusiasm that even if I didn't want to learn it, I'm like, why is she so excited about it? There must be something extra about it that she's not disclosing. So I should listen and follow through with what she's talking about, because there is definitely something extra about it. Why is she so energetic? Why is she so excited about it? So it's great to know that high schoolers, we should also get them involved, because they still have that energy, and it's something that's like what we're talking about in the chat about the next generation. So it's great to see that high schoolers, you are the next generation, and the earlier you start, then it gives the opportunity that in the future, you would have really have well-grounded roots in the subject and in the space and in the different areas that you want to work in, and will help the community.
Especially again, the feeling of I'm not supposed to know this. I'm too young, and I know it. Like, the feeling adds to the enthusiasm, because it used to be just for PhD people and masters, and like really people who know a lot more. Of course, I'm not as informed as researchers, but it feels good to know that, hey, I still know the basics of this, even though normally I wouldn't, because of the internet. It's amazing.
Yeah, coming off, I was actually gonna start a conversation with Mayunza, since how collaborations are being formed, are being forged. How can actually African universities, we're talking about technology, incubation programs, quantum initiatives across Africa. How can how can that be developed in the recent years? And what is your vision for that?
Thanks. I can maybe start by the fourth industrial revolution has ushered in a lot of advances in technology. Some of these from AI, gene editing, robotics, Internet of Things, and then now we're going into the metaverse. And a lot of these advances, have raised a lot of concerns, which are making a lot of stakeholders kind of reluctant to change. Some of these concerns, are the obvious ones: privacy, surveillance. All of these kind of lead to a lot of kind of like a distrust of sorts. People are worried about losing their jobs to AI. This is also bringing up gender inequalities, lack of regulation, and just a whole bunch of security concerns. But the positive of this is, we have a lot of African countries now, South Africa or Ghana, for instance, they're already adopting their own strategies on emphasis of on e-governance, smart cities, healthcare, education, agriculture, to support their local economies. And this is kind of forcing other governments as well to consider, passing new policies and hopefully, bills into law to support, all of these emerging markets. But one thing I've also noticed is, every country, a digital first economy is key for every country. This includes the basic necessities of infrastructure like energy storage and material sciences, more connection to the internet, and all of these technologies, they're all going to be impacted, if not completely, by quantum technologies. So governments need to understand the impact and the opportunities presented by the digital transformation, that is already happening, and especially from a skills perspective. For example, unemployment has always been an issue around the globe, but it seems, we might just have a bigger problem, in the next 8 years, by 2030. This is according to the World Economic Forum. By 2030. In 2020, the World Economic Forum had a report that suggested that in the next few years, billions of people will be displaced due to this digital transformation that is happening. Now, what does this mean? It means that if we fail to equip young people entering the market and young people still learning that are not even in university yet, these people and many more will not only be unemployed, but they'll be unemployable. So, we don't have to try to imagine, what that would look like, because it's kind of already happening. The pandemic has proved that it's possible to work remotely from any location, which means work is available, but most people are unemployable because they lack the necessary skills to perform the work required. So regardless if the market is good or bad, if you can perform, then people are kind of reluctant to even hire you. So one of the reasons I think we are facing this today is because institutions and governments have been kind of teaching skills that, even the fourth generation no longer requires. Many organizations are already removing requirements for bachelor degrees in their specs when looking for new people. So I think skills are very important to address. I hope that answers a little bit of that question. Thank you.
Yeah, so listen, you actually just you further answer the next question for you. Is like quantum requires special change management. So you can't have like quantum transformation plans if you don't have a basis for that, which is digital transformation plans. Like the e-government services need to be robust, and yeah, you actually elaborated on that very neatly, I guess.
No, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, continue.
We have an extreme skills shortage, and we need to comprehensively take action to skill and also reskill communities from both, I think, a human perspective and also a technical perspective. Because like I've been hearing a few people mention is, people don't need to be quantum experts, to fully utilize its capabilities. Human skills are lacking also because, most AI experts, are not necessarily human experts. And then a few examples maybe on human skills would be basics like social behavior, leadership, critical thinking, continuous learning. Like even with myself, I dropped out of school, but I constantly, kept learning, taught myself, new programming languages and things like that. And that's how I, ended up, involved in quantum. Now, for example, like if because I have a lot of family that are kind of, they have a farm in Africa, agriculture and things like that. Or like if you're a farmer or you're a marketer, you don't really need to understand quantum, but you really need to understand what quantum can do for you. How can quantum help transform
Absolutely.
your skills so that you're in line with the demands of the quantum revolution. So I think a customized and plans are kind of a key way forward. How can we learn the right skills for yourself and for your industry? A one size fits all approach to quantum education, I don't think is going to work. So we need to learn all these, we can learn all these technologies, but it won't work because it will be very difficult to implement the knowledge, because we first need to translate exactly what these technologies mean for us. So during this fourth industrial revolution, many African countries have been left out. But this also presents an advantage, because we don't have to do too much unlearning like people in the first world, because Africa is now kind of just now entering the fourth industrial revolution. So quantum now represents or presents a narrow opportunity for Africa to not only equal the playing field, but to also be ahead and the leader of the revolution, which will be entirely dominated by quantum technologies. And I don't think one society, one country can do this, it can accomplish it by itself. I think we need to continue on a collective effort of action, I believe. Thank you.
Circling back to the whole
Amazing.
specializing thing, if you right now ask the random person outside how computers work, I don't think a single person can, or generally the average person wouldn't know how computers work or how to program, but people know how computers are useful. People use computers all the time, and people know the possibilities and potentials of computers. So we don't need specializing. Specialists are important, but not everyone needs to be a specialist. Just knowing that something can be useful or the possibilities of something is just as important.
Yes, speaking of that, you both, Mains and Malak, has raised a question here, which is, I would like to ask that for Conrad, actually. You've dealt with, you have engaged with a lot of, I would say, different professionals, people coming on from different parts of the world. What do you think, how can young people prepare, to leverage on the maximum advantage of the opportunities that are actually presented by emerging technologies? And in general, referring to what Mayinza has mentioned, we're heading at the fourth industrial revolution. How can young people prepare for that?
I don't think young people should wait for industry or the education system to teach them these things. The opportunities are out there to learn, but some of these systems are very slow to update. And the technologies change so quickly. If you look at software development, the number of new libraries that come out and different programming paradigms and techniques, it's vast and very, very fast. The number of new techniques that come out monthly, that if you wait for your teacher or your lecturer to tell you about something, it'll be too late. There'll already be a large enough market for employers to find someone to fill a job. If you want to leverage this new technology, you need to be active and find the resources to teach yourself. Exactly what Malak has done with going to the QXQ. It's an opportunity that was presented to the world, and you had to go and find it. It wasn't just going to show up at your high school. If you're someone that's young right now and you want to prepare yourself for quantum computing in the future and these opportunities, you need to be interested. Firstly, you need to have a passion for learning by yourself, and you need to be confident in your knowledge to know what you don't know so that you can ask for help when something doesn't make sense. As soon as you have those, then you just go out there and try and find that information and learn more and participate in the communities, get your name out there so that more of those events or beta textbooks or courses come up in your daily life, in what you read online, in the communication that you have with other people, and then you can continue to grow and learn. But if you assume that the institution that you're at or the company that you're working at will eventually tell you about this, then by the time you learn about it, it'll probably be well past when it was rising and becoming a thing.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, a few years ago, I tried to tell a lot of people at the United Nations about quantum and what it can do, especially for their logistics and and things like that. But most people are in organizations, they are late adopters, and it's kind of like you were saying, we cannot wait. It's not like at the beginning of the internet age, where it was just like for the government, and then we had to wait until they gave it to us. Now it's more like, we can teach ourselves and then give it to the government, and things like that. So yeah, we can't wait for them to give us the green light.
I do have a question back for you about that. So there are the rare few that will be active and will go out and learn about these things, but most people won't do that. With digital transformation, we have to be active to make sure that as a continent and as communities, we're ready for this, to try and make sure that we don't fall behind. What techniques are there that we could use? Because I've thought about how to get some of my friends interested in quantum, and very few of them are. Some of them assume it's too complicated, or it's only for physicists.
I mean, it's kind of like that notion or kind of philosophy. I believe like a lot of Africans, they're kind of just waiting for a job, which I think is kind of the wrong approach. I think we should be looking to create work and create opportunities. So I think if we can kind of share visions of those opportunities and what can really be possible, I think people might be more inclined to even invest in improving whatever particular skill that may have, to add to this quantum initiative. So I think being self-starting is kind of one way to also get kind of like people who are doubting. If they see you walking the walk, I think they'll be like, they might just follow you. So that might be one. Thanks.
That is actually correct. Yeah. I want to actually to refers that to Gemma. Gemma, I want to ask you a question, but do you actually? I believe that you may have a saying on that. Like, you speaking from a point of view that you're dealing with the community building. You're dealing with different levels of mentalities. How, tell us the feeling, like when you deal with newbies, quantum newbies, I would say.
Yeah, I'm dealing with people who have no experience with quantum. I think all of us have had that moment where, oh, you must be a genius. And Malik touched on this earlier, and that really isn't the case. anyone can get into this. One of my favorite sets of books, I bought the one for my nephew when he was born a couple of years ago, is Quantum Physics for Babies. And it's a child's book that goes through the very, very basic principles. And the same author, Chris Ferry, he's got quantum computing for babies, he's got quantum entanglement for babies. And I think getting over that this is rocket science is really starting as young as we can, introducing these concepts at an age appropriate level. So recently we've been involved in a survey out to high school teachers about what they're doing quantum wise in their classrooms. And I was really disappointed with the one response where I saw where the teacher responded with, these concepts are too difficult for students, for my learners. And that's not the case. We know we've got someone on our panel here who's worked in this field, is teaching herself this materials, going through the coursework that's available to her. So it's really about educating the teachers and getting them, because teachers are humans too, getting them over their own fears around this topic and getting them inspired and excited so that they can go to their students and teach it. In terms of kind of what can we do, it's having events like this and getting the word out every possible way we can. It's bringing in high schools and having hands-on in-person events. It's going out to universities and letting people know what the career options are. I think one of the important things to remember in tech, not every career within tech is a technical job. You might enjoy this, but you, like me, have more of a passion for maybe the education and the community building than maybe you do for the technical work, but you still want to be involved in this field. And there are options for you in that, and understanding how we can kind of get these ideas out, get these concepts out, get the knowledge of the career options out to students so that they are able to build themselves. And to also understand that they don't need to go to university for this. It's, again, like we keep saying, you don't need to have a PhD in physics. It can help if you're wanting to get into the hardware side, but software developers now don't have an understanding of what's lying underneath their keyboards as they write their code. I couldn't build a machine, but I know I can code. I know I can build a machine learning model. And that's going to be the same with quantum. And we're starting to see that change already, where the quantum developers, the quantum coders are going to be helping the people who have the knowledge of the domain space in optimization or in chemistry, and they work together to solve problems.
That's an impressive answer for that question, actually, because you just mentioned some of the next question, which is like, when we speak to newbies about quantum, they get scared. They get like, wow, it's hard. I can't really seem to make it. But yeah, like how can you actually elaborate on that? Like, what are the low-hanging fruits for the newbies? Like, hey, come on, baby, it's not that hard. Just just get on that bike. Just roll it, and everything will, everything will be okay, sooner or later.
Yeah, I think having kind of the elevator pitch for very like low level understanding of quantum knowledge and teaching them what that is. And then suddenly they feel smart because now they're in the exclusive club where they have this little bit of quantum knowledge. So kind of doing that, having a 2-minute elevator pitch on what is quantum or what is quantum physics, some little concept that someone can take away feeling, oh, I learned something in that moment. And then they might log on to a session, or they might open up the Qiskit textbook and say, do you know what, I want to learn some more. So having that down pat, a 2-minute elevator pitch on what is quantum for someone who's not quantum, without a quantum background.
So working backwards. So in school, I always hated it when they gave us calculus, but then never told us what it's used for, but it's very useful. So there are a lot of people, including me, who like to know the practical uses of something. Why will I waste my time learning this complex math if I will never use it? So if telling students, hey, quantum computing could be used for this. Now let's learn about it. Or hey, calculus can be used for this. You might not do that in your lifetime, but it is used for something. It's not just there. Nothing just exists without a purpose. So, and quantum computing can be used in technologies, yes, but in stuff like business, humanities, all types of fields. There's quantum music out there. It's everywhere. So just showing people what it's used for, and then someone by their interests can find a way to quantum. It's everywhere. And I think that's also important.
Amazing. I love the if I could say the special communication between the speakers. Okay, you thought your way without me. Okay, I love that. But yeah, I believe we are about to hit our time. But yeah, like I would really love to hear some final thoughts. Like I would really start with Mayunza. Tell Africa, what do you what is it? What is it that we need?
We need we need to, you know, the concept of freedom is an odd philosophy, and I think we you know, quantum will really help us become, you know, self-sufficient and self-starters. And you know, I believe the brain drains, you know, of people leaving Africa, the continent, and never coming back is will be a thing of the past, you know, once quantum is fully realized. So I truly believe that, you know, like everybody said, to, you know, just jump onto the 5th industrial revolution, which is quantum, and then everybody else, I believe, is going to catch up. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Gemma. Tell the African community why do you need to get into this? Why should we care as Africans?
We cannot afford to be left behind. The one thing I love about Africa is we've got this amazing opportunity to leapfrog. We don't have legacy technology holding us back. And if we have a look at how the cell phone revolution took hold of Africa in a way that no one in the global north was expecting, and that was because we maybe didn't have the same legacy landline connections that they did in North America and Europe. So it was easy for us to take on this new technology. And I'm really hoping to see the exact same happen with quantum, leapfrog over the old technology, the now old technology, and jump into the future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It was such a great, you know, kind of way of actually engaging with the community today. Thank you very much. Conrad, show us the way. Like, what is the Conrad way of ending quantum talks or quantum conversations?
I think to end a quantum conversation should be with something that you think about for the next week or 2 weeks, and then come up with an idea based off of it for the next talk. Something that makes you think deep about why something is the way it is, and makes you wonder about what reasons could be behind it, what solutions there could be. For me, what I'm going to take away from this panel discussion is who can be role models for Africans that want to get into this field, or Africans that don't even know that they would want to be in this field. And I see a lot of those people in this talk today, not only with their videos on, but also in the participants list. People that are punching far above the perceived weight that is available in Africa, that are at the same academic or research or entrepreneurial level as people from countries all around the world use those people as role models to motivate others to further their careers in this field or to change careers entirely. That's what I'm going to be thinking about over the next, probably the next few years, but definitely over the next 2 weeks.
Well, that sounds amazing. Thank you very much, Conrad. Such a lovely talk with you here today. Malak, the youngest in the room, perhaps, if it's not Taima, I guess. Yeah, Taima, she's actually one of my active members of the robotics team that I actually supervise, and she's very interested about quantum, and she's fun, you know, she's very inspired by the quantum AI programming thing. So
we had a talk in the chat. We were talking while this was happening.
Well, yeah. So show us the way how can you, like, as a young student or freshman in the freshman year, like, what is it? How is it? Like, what's it to be young nowadays?
What's it like to be young? Well, first of all, it is actually with enough very inspiring to know that you're one of the first, right? So when I also try to get a lot of high school students to learn quantum as well, whether it by workshops that I and with Malik create, or with courses, with YouTube videos, whatever it is, because it's really nice. Another selling point is that, hey, you'll be one of the youngest people out there. You would be having a head start. You'll join uni. You would have at least have an idea of what you want to do in the future. And that's a very big thing. And also, as we said multiple times in this talk, starting from high school is a big thing. A lot of people underestimate younger people, like younger kids or teenagers, but there's a lot of smart, like, great minds out there, even if it's not like, the traditional smart. Even having someone who's more into humanities learn about quantum, they'll bring in a different point of view that a lot of the STEM tech people wouldn't have. They wouldn't have thought about this as a possibility, just because a completely different thing that probably normally isn't in the quantum world. So starting it from a young age, so people from all different backgrounds and interests are exposed to it, just being exposed. We don't need everyone to study quantum, but just everyone knowing about quantum is important, or as many people to know about quantum and to start from a young age, and just, it will make this transition much easier than it is, and as easy as it should be.
Absolutely, that is very informative, actually, to actually connect generations between each other. Like, and I believe the oldest generation here in the room, maybe Mayenza. I'm not quite sure. I'm not accusing you that you're old, man.
I just turned 35 and I got some gray hairs, and so yeah, I'm so maybe quantum can reverse all those effects. Yeah, we can go back in time a little bit.
Absolutely.
I've got you beat there. I'm 38, so I think I'm winning that competition.
Okay, so we got Mayinza, Gemma there from like the generations that before us. Then we got myself, I'm like 26, or actually turning to 27 by the end of this month. Like, Lorraine, she's 49. Yeah, of course. 49 is still a student in university. Well,